Hi there, this is Tate, and welcome to the Wrestling Time Post Show. It is Sunday, May 28, 2023, and tonight I'll be talking about AEW Double or Nothing. A lot happened in this pay-per-view, I will say that. This is the last pay-per-view of a very long pay-per-view weekend. We had Impact's Under Siege on Friday. Yesterday we had WWE's Night of Champions. And tonight we end Memorial Day weekend with Double or Nothing. So let's talk about in my opinion, the two biggest things that happened on tonight's show. Number one, we had the Anarchy in the Arena match, and the ending was crazy. You guys know, over the last couple of weeks, Don Callis had been recruiting Konosuke Takeshita to, associate with him. Even handed him his business card. And in the final moments of this match, Don Callis handed Wheeler Yuta a screwdriver, and he hit Hangman with it. And then out of nowhere, somebody dressed in black, and they had like something around their face. You couldn't see who it was. Attacked Kenny Omega. And that person ended up being none other than Konosuke Takeshita. And this allowed the Blackpool Combat Club to be victorious in the Anarchy Arena match. And at the end, Don Callis did choke Kenny Omega. So that was a crazy ending. I have to say, I was surprised because I wasn't expecting Konosuke Takeshita to come out there and attack Kenny Omega. I thought Don Callis was going to screw the Elite somehow, but it didn't. Well, he did, but with the help of Konosuke Takeshita. But that was crazy. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the match, and then I'll talk about the second thing that happened that we need to talk about. So this Anarchy in the Arena match was wild. I remember last year, Anarchy in the Arena, that was pretty crazy too. Violent Idols to perform Wild Thing for the BCC. And this match started in the crowd. I like that Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson were fighting on the railing. And he even put Bryan Danielson on the railing and slid him down, which caused Bryan Danielson to get hit with the trash can lid, courtesy of Nick Jackson. There was, I think somebody either gave their popcorn to be used as a weapon, or their popcorn was used as a weapon, because there was some popcorn flying in this match. This thing's got so violent that the ref even started bleeding. At some point, Hangman took off his eye patch and he revealed that his eye was healed. You guys remember, BCC was responsible for that. And Hangman pulled out a screwdriver. So you had Matt Jackson doing right hand to Claudio Castagnoli. You had Kenny Omega doing them to Jon Moxley. You had Hangman doing them to Wheeler Yuta. And Nick Jackson doing them to Bryan Danielson. So at some point, the Young Bucks, they super kicked the lead singer of Violent Idols, who had a BCC shirt on. And then Jon Moxley got busted open. I really like the spot where Matt Jackson was doing the multiple Northern Light suplexes to Wheeler Yuta. Poor Justin Roberts got his jacket ripped off by Bryan Danielson. So there's this one spot where Moxley and Omega, they're I guess they're on the outside near the ramp, and there's this giant chip. And when Moxley turns it down, there's barbed wire. So Moxley suplexes Kenny Omega onto that barbed wire. And then he takes a fork and he stabs him in the face with that fork. Oh my God. So Matt Jackson and Claudio Castagnoli end up outside. They end up in a pickup truck. And he pile drivers Matt Jackson on that pickup truck. You have Hangman doing the Deadeye to Jon Moxley. Nick Jackson flipped off Wheeler Yuta. Oh my God. Okay, so there was this one point where Jon Moxley had Nick in a single leg crab, and Matt Jackson, after being pile drivered, he was limping down to the ring, and he super kicked Jon Moxley. But as he super kicked Jon Moxley, something exploded. So it was an exploding super kick. The BCC did not want to take any more chances, so they took off Matt Jackson's shoe. Moxley put him barefoot onto those thumb backs. Poor Nick Jackson's face went into those thumb backs. Bryan was hitting Omega and Hangman with that psycho knee. Jon Moxley putting thumbtacks inside of Matt Jackson's mouth. And as I mentioned at the beginning, just as the Elite was about to win, Don Callis screwed them over, and out came Konosuke Takeshita, who has now officially turned heel and joined the BCC, or at least aligned himself with Don Callis. So I thought this was a very brutal and barbaric match. There was a lot of blood. Everybody was busted open. Nick Jackson, Hangman, John Moxley, even the poor referee, the first referee got busted open. So I thought this was a really good match. And this match main evented over the 4 pillars. And one thing that I thought was interesting was that AEW was plugging this as a double main event. They've actually, I don't think they've done that before. I think it's the first time they ever plugged something as a double main event. So this was the double main event alongside the 4 pillars match. But I really enjoyed this Anarchy in the Arena match. I hope they keep doing them. They're a fun match, but crazy match, I'd say the least, to say the least, because I don't think any amount of adjectives could describe the insanity that this match has. And the second thing I want to talk about, we had the return of Kris Statlander, who is now the new TBS champion and dethroned Jade Cargill. So Jade Cargill is no longer undefeated, and her year-long reign has come to an end. So let's talk about how that happened. So originally it was a TBS championship match. It was Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie. This match was alright. Of course, Jade Cargill won this with Jaded to Taya. Now, I must say, I was rooting for Taya Valkyrie to win. However, I would have been okay with Jade Cargill winning, so as long as Kris Statlander was going to come out afterwards, because to me, that was the only logical reason that Jade Cargill would win, was that if Kris Statlander was coming out. Now, I hadn't heard anything about Kris Statlander, so I was hoping that, she would come out if Taya Valkyrie lost. So after this match is over, Smart Mark Sterling says that Jade will defend her title anytime, any place. And this is when Kris Statlander comes back. And so we actually get an impromptu match. And Kris Statlander wins with the Big Bang Theory. And so, like I said, that is how Jade Cargill's year-long reign comes to an end. And there is an update. Fightful Select reports that Statlander has been planned as a person to take the TBS title from Jade Cargill for quite some time, dating back at least several weeks. Jade is slated to take some time off soon, if not immediately, before returning to the ring with a personality shift down the road. To me, that makes sense. I feel like Kris Statlander was supposed to be the one to take the title off of her originally, probably last year, but then she got injured, so it delayed those plans. And I think it would be interesting to see where Jade Cargill goes from here now that she's no longer undefeated. I feel like this opens the door for her to be involved in more storylines, because for the longest time, her undefeated streak stopped her from being a part of more storylines, because really, what could you do if the whole point of her is being undefeated? So now I'm very curious to see where Jade Cargill goes from here and what they do with her. But okay, with that being said, let's kick this review off by talking about the buy-in. In the buy-in, we had one match, and it was a trios match, I guess you can say. It was the Hardys and Hook versus Ethan Page and the Guns. If the Hardys and Hook won, the Hardys would take control of Ethan Page's contract, similar to how Ethan Page took control of Matt Hardy's contract. You get a double team to Austin Gunn by the Hardys. The Hardys and Hook sent Ethan Page and the Guns to the outside. Brother Zane accompanied the Hardys and Hook to the ring. And so at some point during the match, Austin attempted to take off Brother Zane's neck brace, and then Ethan Page took him out. Jeff Hardy slips while attempting to, I'm assuming he was trying to do the Swanton Bomb, but he ended up slipping. You have Jeff doing a corkscrew kick to Ethan Page. Hook does a fisherman suplex and a cross arm breaker to Ethan Page. They got 310 to Yuma to Matt Hardy by the Guns, who then double pin him, but Jeff breaks it up with the Swanton Bomb. So you got a double twist of fate. You had Jeff Hardy doing the twist of fate to Austin Gunn, and Matt Hardy did the twist of fate to Colton Gunn. The Hardys then each do a twist of fate to Ethan Page, and Hook does a red rum to Ethan, and the Hardys and Hook are victorious here. Well, I thought this was a fun little match. We'll see how long Ethan Page is going to be under Matt Hardy. I hope it's not a rinse and repeat of the same situation that Matt Hardy was in when Ethan Page took his contract. So we'll see how long this lasts. and what they ultimately decide to do with it. So we find out that the Owen Hart tournament will kick off at Forbidden Door and will culminate on July 15th at Calgary Stampede. Martha Hart was once again present for this announcement. She's the one that actually made this announcement. And July 15th, that's the same day as Impact's Slammiversary. That should be an interesting weekend. So the buy-in actually ended with all the wrestlers who were gonna participate in the Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW International Championship come out. And that is how Double or Nothing kicked off, with the Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW International Championship. So this match was crazy. And there was a lot of spots. I tried my best to keep up with everybody getting eliminated and who they got eliminated by. So I did catch a few. I'm sure I missed plenty, but I caught a few. So one spot, actually two spots that I like in this match. Bandito lifting Brian Cage up. That was crazy. The triple power bomb, very reminiscent of the Shield by Best Friends and Orange Cassidy to Kip Sabian. Tony's niece was the first elimination I caught. I don't think he was the first one, though. I could be wrong. I also have here Keith Lee eliminating the Blade. And there's this one moment where Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland have their moment, like that stare down, because they did have a rivalry. And at one point, they were tag team champions. You got Keith Lee power slamming Swerve Strickland. The Lucha Brothers eliminate the Butcher with a double super kick. Lee Moriarty ended up eliminating Bandito. Then he and Trent Beretta chest chopped each other on the ring apron, and Lee Moriarty got eliminated. I think it was by Trent. I didn't catch who eliminated Lee Moriarty. So Big Bill attempted to eliminate Orange Cassidy, but Trent Beretta sacrificed himself for Orange Cassidy. Brian Cage eliminated Keith Lee. So Penta was trying to help Phoenix because it was Jay White and Juice Robinson were trying to eliminate him. But they ended up moving, and Penta accidentally eliminated Rey Fenix, and then Ricky Starks eliminated Juice Robinson. Dustin Rhodes eliminated Brian Cage, who was then eliminated by Swerve Strickland. And the final four were Penta, Cero Miedo, Swerve Strickland, Big Bill, and Orange Cassidy. I didn't catch who eliminated Penta, but Swerve Strickland eliminated Big Bill. Orange Cassidy did 2 DDTs to Swerve Strickland, and Orange Cassidy and Swerve Strickland ended up on the ring apron, and in the most Orange Cassidy way, he kicked Swerve Strickland, I think, in the arm, and Orange Cassidy was victorious, so he survived this battle royal. And he really should be thanking Trent Beretta, because had Trent Beretta not sacrificed himself early in the match to save Orange Cassidy may not have left as international champion here. But I thought this was a really fun match, a great way to kick off the show. Then we had the unsanctioned match. It was Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole, baby, with Sabu as special guest enforcer. So the JAS attempted to attack Sabu, but he ended up taking them down. Chris Jericho doing a suplex off the ring apron to Adam Cole. There was a chair fight between Chris Jericho and Sabu, and Sabu ended up taking out 2 members of the JAS through a table. Jericho flipped off the crowd. Then out of nowhere, everybody kind of just disappeared, and Adam Cole and Chris Jericho were left alone. You had Chris Jericho doing a chest chop and a clothesline to Adam Cole. Adam Cole stopped Chris Jericho's lion salt with a super kick. Chris Jericho put Adam Cole in the walls of Jericho, and while he's in the walls of Jericho, he's crawling towards the rope. And he reaches for a fire extinguisher, and he uses that on Chris Jericho. Then he hits Chris Jericho with the extinguisher. Then Chris Jericho returns the favor and uses the extinguisher on Adam Cole. Britt Baker comes out, and she whacks Chris Jericho with a kendo stick. Saraya comes out, and she attempts to stop Britt, but she gets hit with the kendo stick, and Britt chases away Saraya. Adam Cole choked Chris Jericho with the kendo stick. Chris Jericho ended up throwing a steel chair at Adam Cole, who ended up going through a table. He hits a DDT to Chris Jericho, and then a Panama Sunrise. Jericho pulls out a chain. He chains Adam Cole, and then he proceeds to choke Adam Cole with that chain. Adam Cole then does a boom to Jericho, and Cole wraps that chain around his knee, and he does a boom to Chris Jericho, and then he's just pounding on Jericho's face. And the referee stops the match. The crowd boos, so Adam Cole wins. And I have to say, I was not a big fan of this match. I guess I just wanted more because it was an unsanctioned match. I was expected to see blood, and then the finish, the match was stopped. Wasn't a huge fan of this match or this finish. This feud obviously isn't over because we do get a follow-up segment where Chris Jericho is furious at the outcome of this match, and he and Saraya challenge Adam Cole and Britt Baker to a mixed tag match on Dynamite, which is made official later on in the night. Then we get the AEW World Tag Team title match. It is FTR versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal with Mark Briscoe as special guest referee. So Mark Briscoe patted down Jay Lethal. Jeff Jarrett got in Mark Briscoe's face. I think that Jay Lethal and Polly thought Mark Briscoe was going to favor them and not call it down the middle like he did. We get a side headlock to Lethal and then a chest chop by Dax Harwood. We get a double crossbody to Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett by Dax Harwood. Mark Briscoe stopped Jeff Jarrett from entering this match because he didn't see the tag. Like Jay Lethal pretended, he went like that, pretending to tag him in, but Mark Briscoe didn't fall for that. Mark Briscoe caught Jeff Jarrett with the steel chair in hand. You got Jay Lethal doing a snap suplex to Cash. You got Jeff Jarrett doing a leg drop to Cash, and then Jay Lethal was doing the strut. Karen Jarrett, who was on the outside, cheap shot at Cash. I have to say, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal did a really good job at isolating Cash Wheeler from Dax. Jay Lethal then did a knee to the face to Cash, and Jeff Jarrett did the strut. Jeff Jarrett put Cash Wheeler into a figure 4 leg lock. So at some point, Jeff Jarrett accidentally hit Mark Briscoe with the guitar. Then Audrey Edwards came down to be the referee, but Karen Jarrett hit her with the guitar. Dax ended up hitting the pile driver to Jay Lethal. Jeff Jarrett hit the stroke to Dax. Jeff Jarrett attempted to strike Mark Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe struck back. And then FTR did the Shatter Machine to Jeff Jarrett, and FTR was victorious in this match. Thank God. I would have felt some type of way if Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal won those tag titles. After this, we get a backstage interview with Ricky Starks, who gets attacked by Bullet Club Gold and FTR because they're walking backstage. They stepped in and helped Ricky Starks. And then after this is when Chris Jericho and Saraya challenge for the mixed tag match, but I already talked about that, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it. Next, we get the ladder match for the TNT Championship. It is Wardlow versus Christian Cage. So this is Wardlow's second ladder match, but obviously we know Christian Cage has plenty of experience in ladder matches. Christian Cage drop-kicked Wardlow, who was holding a ladder, who grabbed some tables from under the ring. Wardlow ended up falling onto a ladder, and Christian Cage went crashing into a ladder. Christian Cage then slingshot Wardlow face first into a ladder. Luchasaurus came down to help Christian Cage. Wardlow attempted to do a swanton bomb onto Christian, but he ended up moving, so Wardlow landed on the ladder. Arn Anderson also came down to help Wardlow. So there was this one spot where like Christian Cage was climbing on the ladder, and Wardlow just like threw himself on the ladder, and the ladder ended up falling down. Luchasaurus chokeslams Wardlow 2 times, and I don't know what Arn Anderson was trying to do, but he got involved in this. And he bit Luchasaurus' finger. Wardlow took a steel chair to the back of Luchasaurus. Then he did a swanton to Luchasaurus from the top of the ladder through a table. And Wardlow caught Christian into a powerbomb from a ladder. And so Wardlow ended up being victorious, and he successfully retained his TNT title. So I really hope Wardlow has a good long reign, because I feel like they've been playing hot potato with that title. We get an AEW Women's World Championship match. It's Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. So Toni Storm comes out first, and then she's waiting for Jamie Hayter to come out. Ruby Soho and Saraya attack Jamie Hayter. Now, Jamie Hayter is actually dealing with a legit injury. So the finish, this whole match, I know some people are probably not happy because Jamie Hayter lost after Toni Storm hit the Storm Zero. And so that makes Toni Storm the first 2-time AEW Women's Champion, but they had to take the belt off Jamie Hayter. You know, you didn't want to have an interim champion again. Look what happened the last time we had one. So, on one hand, good for Toni Storm, because now she's going to be a legit champion and not interim champion. This whole match makes a lot of sense. If you guys remember, Jamie Hayter, the only reason she beat Toni Storm was because Britt Baker helped her. She took off that turnbuckle pad, and so this is Toni Storm returning the favor, I guess. I really hope that the feud between the Outcasts and the Originals isn't over. Like, this can't be the way it ends, right? Because I was thinking and assuming that we were going to get a blood and guts match out of it. I'm still hoping we do. Right? This can't be how this feud ends, right? Because if this is how this feud ends, this was a really lackluster feud, right? We're getting blood and guts, right? Right? Please tell me we're getting blood and guts out of this. So up next, we get the AEW Trios Open House Rules Open Challenge match. It is a House of Black versus a team that we didn't know because it was an open challenge. And that team ended up being the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. So Anthony Bowens and Malachi Black start this match. You get a shoulder tackle to Anthony Bowens by Malachi Black. You guys know Malachi Black likes to sit down crisscross applesauce, and Anthony Bowens does that too. You get an armbar to Anthony Bowens by Buddy Matthews, a leg drop to Buddy Matthews by Anthony Bowens, which he follows it up with a drop kick. Max Caster and Malachi Black collide and go down. The Acclaim does scissor me timbers to Malachi Black, but Malachi Black sees this coming, so he catches Anthony Bowens in the knee bar. And after this, they basically isolate Anthony Bowens. They do a Meteora to Anthony Bowens while he's trapped in that knee bar. You got Brody King doing a senton to Bowens. Brody King cheap shotting Max Caster and Daddy Ass. You got Brody King doing a cannonball to Anthony Bowens in the corner. When Daddy Ass gets tagged in, he single-handedly was taking out the House of Black, hit the Famouser to Buddy Matthews, but then unfortunately for him, he got taken out by Malachi Black, and so House of Black is victorious. I was really surprised we got this match. I wasn't expecting this match because they weren't even on the card for the longest time. Like, I think, this past Dynamite, it said that the House of Black was going to do an open challenge, so I was pretty surprised that we even got this. Wasn't expecting it. So after this is when we get the TBS Championship match, but I talked about that, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it and talk about the four-way for the AEW World Championship match. It was the four pillars. It was Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus MJF. This was a really fun match. Absolutely, probably my favorite match of the night. And I was really surprised this went on second to last. I thought this was going to main event. But as we learned at the end, Anarchy in the arena main evented. Darby Allin came out dressed like Elvis Presley. Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello both came out and made an announcement. They're expecting a baby. So congrats to Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello, who are expecting their first child. One of the things I really liked about this match is all three pillars ganged up on poor MJF. Although I can't say he doesn't deserve it. He did deserve it. They do a triple drop kick to MJF. Jungle Boy does a double arm drag to Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. MJF does the strut at one point. Then he does that whole thing that Rick Rude used to do. Sammy Guevara does a shooting star press to Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, and MJF on the outside. So at one point, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin are like on the turnbuckles. And Jungle Boy just came and he did a suplex to Darby Allin. And since Sammy Guevara was in that mix too, Sammy Guevara ended up crashing into MJF. I actually really like this next spot. Darby Allin doing a stunner to MJF followed by a side headlock takedown, the same move that MJF beat Darby Allin in. You get Sammy Guevara doing a Spanish fly to MJF followed by a frog splash. MJF bit Sammy Guevara's head. Okay. MJF doing a side headlock takedown to Darby Allin. And like throughout this match, you can hear MJF just mouthing stuff. Like he's like cursing. One thing that I did catch was he told Sammy Guevara he's a fucking idiot. I really like this next spot. So all four men did the finishers of their mentors. So you got the Scorpion Death Drop, which Darby Allin did on MJF. Jungle Boy hit Sammy Guevara with the kill switch. Sammy Guevara doing the code breaker to Darby Allin. And MJF does a crossroads to Jungle Boy. That was a really cool spot. Absolutely love that spot. So since Sammy Guevara had announced that he and Ty Mello were expecting a baby, MJF tried to get Sammy Guevara to lie down for him by telling him to think about the baby. And so Sammy acting like he was going to lie down for MJF, which he didn't. Sammy Guevara putting MJF in the walls of Jericho, Then you got Darby Allin hitting the Scorpion Deathlock to Jungle Boy. You get a figure 4 leg lock to Darby Allin by Sammy Guevara. A sit-down Tiger Driver to Sammy by Jungle Boy. Darby Allin ended up sending MJF and Jungle Boy over the barricade. You got a Spanish Fly to Darby Allin onto MJF and Jungle Boy, who were on the outside, which was pretty cool. So at one point, Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin surround MJF, and he pokes all their eyes, and then he flips off the crowd. Darby Allin doing a code red to MJF, which Jungle Boy followed up with an elbow to the back of the head. You have Sammy doing the DDT to Jungle Boy, Darby Allin doing a code red to Sammy Guevara. You got MJF doing a blonde bombshell to Darby Allin, which commentary said was a Chris Candido move. MJF with a low blow to Sammy Guevara. Darby Allin hitting MJF in the back of the head with the skateboard, which he followed up with the coffin drop. And then he did a side headlock takedown. And he would have won this match had Jungle Boy not broken up the pin, which is why Darby Allin gets furious with Jungle Boy. MJF comes in with the title, and Jungle Boy takes it from him. And he is holding this title, and he's just looking at it. And Darby Allin is like getting up after being taken down. And it looked like he was about to hit Darby Allin, but he ended up throwing the title out of the ring. And the crowd booed this. You have Sammy doing the GTH to Jungle Boy. MJF, when Darby Allin wasn't looking, put the title on Jungle Boy. So when Darby Allin did the coffin drop, he landed on that title. And afterwards, MJF did the side headlock takedown to Darby Allin. And MJF successfully retained his AEW World title. And I knew it. I said by some way or another, MJF was going to find a way to win. And he did. He found a way to win. And it was a really good match. Again, probably my favorite match of the night. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my review right there because I've already talked about the Anarchy in the Arena match. So overall, I thought tonight's Double or Nothing was alright. I felt like compared to other AEW shows, this was really weak. It started off strong with the Blackjack Battle Royal. Then the final two matches were really, really good. And it didn't help the fact that the crowd was pretty much dead. They were pretty much dead, and that really didn't help the show at all. There was like, after the Battle Royal, the crowd pretty much, in my opinion, went dead. They booed the ending to the Unsanctioned match. I was so disappointed in the crowd, and the crowd really adds to the show. They were wide awake for that Four Pillars match and that Anarchy in the Arena match, but I don't know what happened to the crowd. Maybe people were tired, maybe the heat got to them, but the crowd certainly didn't help this show at all. Well, that concludes this review. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Raw. Bye!